Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So in today's episode, I've got an interesting one for you. I'm going to be talking about brutal commanders that can absolutely dominate, but they can also, well, make you lose your friends. So be cautious when playing these. Of course, if you are, throwing caution to the wind, you can check out that card list link in the description below and maybe pick some of these up. Now, with all that said, let's jump into them. First up, let's start off with an adorably tiny Tinybones Trinket Thief, and yeah, this can be a brutal commander that absolutely can lose your friends. A 1/2 Skeleton Rogue for 2 mana in black. Beginning of each end step, if an opponent discard a card this turn, you draw a card, you lose 1 life. Oh, and by the way, by paying 6, each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life. Here's the thing. Yeah, discard is an absolutely brutal thing, and this commander heavily incentivizes you to have opponents discard cards here, there, and everywhere. Again, it's only 1 card per end step that you gain a card advantage of, but that's still an amazing amount. Again, with 1 trip around the table, that can be 4 cards drawn by the Tinybones player. Sure, you lose 4 life. Who cares about that? You got plenty of life to lose. That being said, again, you are incentivized to just make it so opponents are discarding card after card after card after card after card after card after card. Sometimes random discards as well. And yeah, it's really hard for opponents to plan on, what they're doing when they lose their entire hand. And yeah, then you're just in top deck mode, and it can become a very boring game at a certain point. So yeah, Tinybones, again, adorable. Different kind of playstyle, but a playstyle that most definitely can rub opponents the wrong way, and maybe they might just leave the table and leave the LGS, and maybe you just lost a friend right there. Next up, Edric, Spymaster of Trest, a 2/2 Elf Rogue for 3 mana in Simic. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may draw a card. Now, here's the thing. Inherently, this is not a commander that would be considered necessarily brutal, would not be considered, necessarily one that could lose your friends. But the way that it is typically built, not always, but typically, yeah, definitely can lose your friends. If you don't ask ahead of time, make sure that's okay with players, you can definitely rub players the wrong way because, well, yeah, inherently, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm just going to get creatures out, and everyone's going to swing at my opponents, including myself, and yeah, it's kind of like a political commander, right? Wrong! It's extra turns, because what you're going to do is you're going to get out those low-to-the-ground evasive creatures, the flying men type strategy, you're going to swing away, and then you're going to be like, alright, everyone's doing that, cool, alright, now, I cast an extra turn spell, and then I do it again, and then I do it again. Yeah, that can definitely rub players the wrong way. In a more social commander gathering, in a more casual commander gathering, yeah, that's not necessarily a strategy that players like to play against, where you're just sitting there monopolizing all the time, and players are just twiddling their thumbs and doing absolutely nothing. So yeah, specifically, I would say, again, Edric, Spymaster, Trest, extra turns, which is kind of typically how it's built, is a brutal commander that, well, does not give up the turn, and is a brutal commander that can lose your friends. Moving on, this might be an unpopular opinion, but Braids, yeah, this Braids, blue Braids, not talking about the other Braids. I guess there's 2 other ones now at this point. Not talking about the other Braids, though. This Braids is one that can most definitely be considered a brutal commander that absolutely can lose your friends. Braids Conjurer Adept is a 2/2 human wizard for 4 mana in blue. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, the player may put an artifact, creature, or a land card from their hand onto the battlefield. Here's the thing about this one. Yeah, I mean, you're doing that, right? You are like, hey, oh, it's for everyone. Everyone's getting the benefit. Now, first of all, obviously, you can utilize ways to maybe even, like, I don't know, phase it out and phase it back in. You got ways where it can go away and come back, and you're the one who takes advantage of it. Cool. But also, again, you're kind of just changing the ways that the game works. You're changing the rules of the game inherently. In Magic, you gotta pay for things, right? Well, not with Braids. Braids like, no, everyone. Let's just speed up the game in a way that is completely different, that maybe can rub players the wrong way, where, hey, yeah, you know what? You just happen to have something massive in your hand. Congratulations, it's yours. So yeah, the Braids player could be upsetting players in that it changes the entire rules of the game, basically. Also, yeah, getting an Eldrazi out super early and just being like, yeah, okay, the Eldrazi's out, it the Betray's cool now, that's the entire game's around that. can really throw a wrench into players' strategies. Of course, you can also use control magic type cards for a Braids play. You know, you're like, hey, okay, you played some giant creatures, good for you. All right, it's mine now. Cool. Yay! See, stealing things not exactly what players like to play against sometimes too. So, for a lot of reasons, Braids, even though it's not, you know, the other Braids creatures that maybe also can be considered, you know, some brutal commanders, it is one that can absolutely be brutal, can change the rules of the game, and can rub players the wrong way. So, you might lose some friends. Moving on, Jon Irenicus, Shattered One. Now, this one can be an absolutely brutal commander depending on how you build a 3/3 Elf Wizard for 4 mana in Dimir. Beginning of your end step, target opponent gains go up to 1 target creature control. You get 2 counters on it, you tap it. It's good for the rest of the game, and it gains creature can't be sacrificed. Oh, by the way, hey, whenever a creature you own but don't control attacks, you draw a card. Now, the one most important thing on this card literally is, well, you're giving someone else a creature, and it can't be sacrificed. Because of that, because it literally changes the rules of that card now gains this creature can't be sacrificed. You can do some disgustingly terrible and weird things with that card where you're like, hey, I'm giving you a creature that can't be sacrificed. Oh, but because it has Island Home on it, yeah, Island Home, remember that thing, and you don't have an island, it's a draw. The game's a draw. What? Yeah, basically by giving someone a creature that says it has to be sacrificed, if, say, you don't control an island, like, you know, like a Manta Ray type card, essentially, and it also is now stapled on this creature can't be sacrificed, both those things loop indefinitely because neither of them can resolve, essentially, and you turn the game into a draw, and no one wins. And players might not like that. So yeah, this is a brutal commander for certain builds. I mean, it's a cool commander for other builds too, and it can actually has pretty brutal builds, you know, in other ways where it's like you know, bad gifts players, creatures that are really, really bad. But also you can just go, oh yeah, I'm turning the game into completely something else where no one wins, and I just turn into a draw, and that's my entire deck, where I have, you know, 20 creatures that either have Island Home or Swamp Home or whatever, and basically the game just draws because they have these sacrifice loops that have to happen, and I can't stop them. So yeah, it is definitely a commander that can be brutal and can lose your friends. Moving on, Hinata, Dawncrown, a 4/4 Kieran Spirit with Flample. I always forget this has Flample, again in Jeskai. 4 mana. Spells you cast cost 1 less for each target. Soldier Bones cast cost 1 more to cast for each target. This is one of those that's kind of like, it is not Grand Arbiter Gust in the 4th, okay? It is not at all. That being said, it's kind of got vibes in that way in some ways where you get a massive advantage. Again, all your spells cost so much less to cast, and you can do some absolutely disgusting things with that. You're like, yeah, I spend 1 mana, I target everything on the board, and it's mine. Yay! I get so much advantage. Versus your opponents, they're like, oh, I've got this one spell, Aether Gale or whatever, and I literally can't play it because it has targets, and I literally can't do anything with that. I have to spend an insane amount of mana to ever cast a spell. It basically takes like the same spell, which would normally cast again, like say 5 mana, and then the player who's got Hinata can cast it for like 2, and then the other player can cast it for like 11. So yeah, the dichotomy essentially of fairness is kind of tilted ever so slightly with Hinata Dawncrown. So this is definitely one that can be absolutely brutal with the right build. It can rub players the wrong way, and it can be absolutely disgusting to the point where, yeah, it's very powerful, and against the right player that actually has a deck that cares about targeting, you might lose a friend. Next up, Zur the Enchanter. Now, a specific kind of Zur deck. I mean, a lot of Zur decks are very control-y, but one that is incredibly hyper-control-y and does some absolutely disgusting things, or especially one that maybe does combo. Yeah, those can be so brutal that they can definitely lose friends. A 1/4 Human Wizard with flying for 4 mana in Esper. Whenever it attacks, may search for life for an enchantment card made of value 3 or less on the battlefield, then shuffle. Yeah, being able to do this is repeatable. It is disgustingly amazing, and also it is something that can be absolutely brutal and lose your friends. You can go get enchantments that, well, are just absolutely, well, brutal to play against and really difficult to deal with. And then also, I mean, they change the rules of the game, they change the aspects of the game, and they make it so players aren't necessarily having all that great of a time. So yeah, Zur, who can consistently do that, can be absolutely a destructive commander for friendships. Next up, Greel Mind Raker. Yeah, you know about this commander? No, probably not. Anyways, it is so disgusting that it's been banished, essentially. to the Netherrealm. I mean, not really, but it's a 3/3 spell shaper of sorts for 5 mana in black. It's got a very simple ability. Pay X and a black. Tap, discard 2 cards in your hand. Target a player discards X cards at random from their hand. Random discard is so incredibly disgusting. It is absolutely something where it's like, yeah, you got like, I don't know, 7 cards in your hand. Sure, I'll make you discard, I don't know, 5. Okay, yeah. Chances are highly likely I'm hitting the cards that I really want to hit anyways because they're random. You can't choose. Even so, I mean, obviously, if you got the mana for it, which if you're building with this commander, you're probably going to, you're going to have a lot of mana. You're going to have a lot of ways to draw cards. And you're just going to be like, yeah, you lose all your cards. Hey, you lose all your cards. Hey, you lose all your cards. Yeah, being able to just make it so your opponents never can have a hand, essentially, and they're just top decking is absolutely disgusting. And the fact that it is random, essentially, again, for those times that you're like, well, I don't have enough mana to make you discard your entire hand, but we'll see what happens, is going to make them even more salty when it's like, oh, yeah, you had 5 good cards in your hand, and you just lost all 5. Yay! Yeah, Greel Mind Raker is an absolutely disgustingly brutal commander. That actually was the inspiration for this episode because, well, it can definitely lose your friends. I don't think Maha ever had a chance to not be on this list, to be honest. Maha, its Feathers Knight, is a 6/5 elemental bird with Flample for 5 mana in black. War, discard a card. By the way, creatures opponents control have based up this one. This could be a 1/1 with no flying, no trample, that did not have ward on it at all, and it would be on this list as well. Literally making it so that your opponents have creatures with base up this one is absolutely brutal and disgusting, meaning that basically, again, any kind of damage, any kind of combat is probably going to take them out. But yeah, even just, I don't know, maybe having some kind of an enchantment or creature in play that makes it so that all creatures get -1/-1, and then your opponents can't literally have creatures in play at all because they keep getting taken out left, right, and center. Yeah, that is exactly what this commander can do. It is brutal. It is disgusting. You, if you're playing against me with this, I cannot be convinced that you are not trying to do that in some way. Yeah, it is a commander that absolutely can lose your friends because it is so difficult to play against, so difficult to play around, and yeah, it just takes one other card on top of this commander to make it so that you are completely locked out from ever getting creatures into play. Definitely a lose friends type commander. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one when it comes to losing friends. Godo, Bandit, Warlord definitely can lose friends if they're not prepared for what this is, what this does, and your general overall strategy. A 3/3 human barbarian for 6 mana in red. When it enters, search life for an equipment card from the battlefield, then shuffle. When Godo attacks the first time each turn, untap it and all samurai you control after this phase of combat phase. Basically, go tutor up a very specific card called Helm of the Host. You get that into play, you attach it, and then you swing and you win. That's basically it. You get infinite combats. Okay, rules lawyers out there, not infinite, but as many as you need to win. Yep, essentially, the entire goal of this commander is, can you count to 11? If you can, you win. That's all you need to do. So you just, get mana out, you do rituals, and then all of a sudden you play this, and then you attach your Helm of the Host, and there you go. The game is over. So again, if your opponents are not prepared for that, or if, they're not in a play group where you really care about, playing against combos, or, this kind of a specific, hyper-focused deck like that, you might rub players the wrong way if they're not ready for it, or if they don't want to play against a card like this. So yeah, Godo, Bandit, Warlord, again, very simple, very effective, but maybe too simple and too effective. And finally, Lord Windgrace. 5 starting loyalty for Windgrace. A 5 mana commander enjoined by getting the +2. Discard a card, draw a card. If a land is a card this way, you draw a card. -3. Turn the 2 target land cards to greater the battlefield. -11. Destroy 6 non-land permanents and create 6 2/2s that have forest block. Can also be your commander. Doesn't have to say that anymore. But yeah, here's the thing about this one. I mean, doesn't have to say it. Here's the thing about this one. Yeah, Lord Windgrace can be absolutely disgusting. I mean, just in general, if you're playing a Planeswalker commander, you're heavily incentivized in many ways to wipe the board again and again and again because, yeah, it protects your commander, keeps your opponents off their game, and you've got a Planeswalker that's like, oh yeah, I cast the Wrath of God. Your commanders are gone. Mine is fine. That being said, also this commander heavily incentivizes something that is a no-no in casual commander, mass land destruction. Because if you build up a decent enough loyalty for this commander, even if not, I mean, you can get a head start on your opponents, right? You can go -3, get 2 lands back. Cool. All right, I destroyed all the lands. You all have no lands at all. I'm going to keep getting resources because I'm going to keep getting lands back quicker than you will be able to. So all of a sudden, I am way ahead of you on lands, you've got no lands, and I just basically win by locking up the game when it comes to my opponents being able to play anything. So yeah, depending on the build around this one, again, if you're heavy on board wipes, if you're heavy on mass land destruction especially, it can be a brutal commander that will absolutely lose your friends. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on this one. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.